And I kind of pulled up and said, hey, you need a ride, which was bullshit. Mick Foley, you know, he's probably got the first nickel he ever made, and I'm proud of that. I'm happy for him and his family. But, you know, he didn't ever rent a car. I said, Nick, you need a ride, because I knew he didn't have a car, and he was looking around. So he gets in the car, and, hey, you want to drive? Because I'm going to drink some beer and have some potato chips. And it was only 100 degrees outside, so I took off my shirt. And, and then he questioned my singing. I love to sing, not because I'm good at it, just because I enjoy it. Most people do things that they're fairly good at, and that's why they enjoy it. I enjoy singing because it pleases me. I don't really give a fuck who else it pleases. But he commented on that, and then he goes back, and you know what? You know, he's got 4 o'clock flight out in the morning. So, well, you know, I'm going up to my bed. My flight's out at noon, and so he bums a ride from me. Doesn't offer to pay a penny on the car, and you could ask anybody about this, about him. And then he bitches about me singing and eating paychecks, getting a free ride. We get to the hotel. So, "Are you gonna get a room, man?" He said, "Hell no, I'm gonna sleep down here on the carpet or whatever, just wherever they won't kick me out of the hotel. And get up and take the shuttle in the morning to the airport." I said, "Well, come up and sleep on my floor, fuck." And then to top it off, he says I had a $2,500 tab for one fucking night. And, you know, it put me in a bad light. And, you know, I'm not trying to say that I was watching my pennies, but that's ridiculous. And if I ever saw Mick again, I would tell him he was full of shit to his face on that one.
Well, you know, I think that, Mick Foley being at Madison Square Garden right now, Chaz, you know, maybe he'll have to listen to the archive or the podcast edition of the Mayhem right now. But, you know, one man who never holds any boundaries, and you know what? He was a good father on Boy Meets World. Let's quickly change gears a little bit, because you know what? This chat room, our emails with this Boy Meets World reference, I can admit I'm turning 26 on Saturday, Vader. I was a huge fan of Boy Meets World.
What do you mean was?
Wait a minute.
You coordinate your schedule to the Disney Channel reruns every afternoon and evening.
No. Actually,
I know. Hey, Eric fired me, and Mick took my place on Boy Meets World. You know, that was a good gig. It wasn't a lot of money. But, I mean, shit, you go down, stay in this 5-star hotel, you get a massage, you go swimming, you get a jacuzzi, and, you have a couple cold beers, you go to bed at a reasonable hour, you get up and, you know, and he just acts. And not that I could act, but I mean, I could memorize the lines and use a little bit of facial expressions, but, you know, that was one of my biggest regrets about, leaving the WCW was losing that gig, because that was fun.
No, we got to know. Oh, we remember that episode, but we got to know, while you were on set, who pulled down more girls, Ben Savage or Mr. Feeney?
You know what? The little girl, she's gotten a little heavier now, but she's beautiful. What's
Topanga?
Ben Savage? Corey? Was it Corey?
Yeah,
Corey.
Topanga.
The little curly-headed boy.
Oh,
the star of the fucking show. You know what I'm talking about.
Ben Savage.
We thought you were talking about the girl Topanga. We like her.
I'll tell you what, his girlfriend was just like, wow. She was off the chart good looking. And
that was
just
Topanga.
Topanga, good God. If I'd have been, well, let's see, I don't know, she was about 15 at the time. If I'd have been about 30 years younger, it would have been fun.
Well,
but,
you know,
I had a ball out there.
This is,
and you know, I don't know where you guys are heading with all this, but I mean, we got to talk a little bit about, you know, the schedule and the lifestyle and how many people have died since I've got into the sport. And
I'm glad you brought that up. You know, there's especially with the tragic passing, Vader, of Bryan Adams today. It seems that, you know, every 2 or 3 weeks we talk about someone passing away. Just in 2007, the Benoit family tragedy, John Cronus, Sensational Sherry, attacking Mike Awesome.
These are young guys, 30s and 40s.
You know, 30s and 40s.
I mean, you know, look at Rick Rude. I mean, he was a picture of health. This guy didn't have an ounce of fat on him. He was pure muscle and would have been still wrestling today without question. Without question, still wrestling today. I mean, he was just his. Again, he might have had 1% body fat. I mean, if Sting is still wrestling today and doing it very well, I might add, Rick Rude's still wrestling today and still making a lot of money. And you know, Mr. Perfect, and God, you can just go on and on. But it seems to me that we've got to somewhere we got to take a hard look in the mirror, and you know, when a guy is when he's in pain, hey, you go wrestle. It's like football. When you're in pain, you wrestle. You got a sore back, you wrestle. But when you're really injured and you got to take 4 or 5 pain pills and raise your blood pressure through the roof and go out there and wrestle for 20 minutes, I mean that, you know. And then obviously the drinking and other things that you know, I don't really care to go into right now. But there's got to be some type of regulation, and I'm not talking about hurting the sport. I really am talking about helping it. And you know, one of the last comments I want to make, you know, I've worked for Mr. McMahon. I've been around Mr. McMahon. The only thing that Mr. McMahon did to me is legitimately when I left, I went to Gerald Briscoe, and I said, Gerald, man, you got a youth camp going here. I mean, that was when Edge was just coming in, and it was just like there was 22-year-old long-haired, blonde-haired, blue-eyed guys, and you know, I'd had my opportunity. Really, you know, was not even close to being healthy. I got the serious injury at the Bash at the Beach against Hogan. 90 days later, I'm in the ring with him, and then went and had major surgery. Had my chest separated, I had a full thickness rotator cuff tear, and 2/3 of my AC joint had been ripped out. So, you know, I stayed in as good a shape as I could. I did two pay-per-views for Vince, Monday Night Raw and a pay-per-view, and I can't remember the names of them. But then, you know, then I said, well, you know, I need 6, 7, 8 months off, and that time was closed down to 90 days because it was WrestleMania. And so, you know, my opportunity, I didn't really come in, you know, imagine coming into the greatest wrestling company in the world with the greatest competition in the world and not being healthy. You know, and having your chest separated on, again, the full thickness rotator cuff here, and 2/3 of the AC joint removed. And I really never got rolling or got an opportunity to get rolling healthy. But the only thing I can say bad about Mr. McMahon would be, and not that anyone gives a shit what I think about Mr. McMahon, because, you know, quite frankly, but he gets such a bad rap every day. And is when I went to Gerald Briscoe and I said, look, man, you've got a youth camp coming. I want to get back to Japan. And, you know, I've got $15,000 a week, you know, guarantee you 20 to 25 weeks a year. And they don't fuck with me. All I got to do is get on the bus and fight hard and go home, right? And I said my son is getting of an age where he was going into his sophomore, junior, and senior year, and he was a hell of a football player. He was a high school All-American as a junior and as a senior. He got a scholarship to the University of Oklahoma. He was a Gatorade Player of the Year in Colorado, #1 center in America, the strongest player in America. So, I mean, that was something I really didn't want to miss. And then, you know, also, hey, look, I'm killing myself 300 days a year. You know, I think my time had come and passed. And when I left, the company decided to say they fired me, and that wasn't the case. That's the honest to God's truth. I asked Gerald. Vince thought about it over 2 weeks and let me go. Gave me, he said, okay, you know, do a job for Edge and do a job for a couple other guys. The announcer now, JW. Do a job for JW and do one for Al Snow and Styrofoam gimmick. I said, hey, man, with pleasure. And I thanked him very much. And then I heard when I left, they were putting on that they had fired me because I was out of condition, and that was the furthest thing from the truth. You know, I was injured and really never got really into playing shape. If you'll use that, you know, I mean, it's like a football player coming back too soon, and you know, you can't bump around the ring every day and get well. You just stay hurt. You stay at that level. You don't increase to where you once were. But you know, and then in retrospect, when I talk about Vince McMahon, because he gets such a fucking bad rap every day. I mean, it's like, you know, he's the evil behind all this, and you see him take men that you think, well, yeah, this guy's going to be here about 2 weeks and he's gone, and this guy, for whatever reasons, I mean, he recognizes the opportunity. I mean, Teddy Long. I mean, who would ever think of the career he'd had? And you look how Vince has changed that man's life. You know, think about that. And if you have a comment, I mean, Teddy Long was never supposed to draw, was never supposed to make money. And this guy's wearing suit and ties. He's on TV. He's a celebrity. Sure, he lives in a nice house and pays his bills, and he's got money in the bank. And that's what I see Vince doing to people. And you know, Teddy Long is just one of the stories.
First guy I think about is Sean
he
Waltman.
Can be, I mean, that is a good side of Vince McMahon, and no one ever thinks about that side. I mean, okay, even Ric Flair, as great as Ric Flair is, and as great as he is still performing, which is mind-boggling. I mean, how many promoters would actually keep Ric on at this age? You know, 2 years ago, before, you know, in other words, before, I don't know, Rick went away and he came back energized again. You see what I'm saying? Am I making any sense to you?